Hi, it's Pat Duckworth, the hot woman with cool solutions and the author of the #1 international best-selling book, Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And to celebrate the launch of the audiobook, I'm talking to my wonderful co-authors about their stories that are shared in the book. And today I am talking to Lesley Pyne. And Lesley helps childless women, supporting them to heal and to live a life they love. Because after 10 years of struggling to come to terms with her own childlessness and trying to find her place in the world, Lesley trained in NLP and timeline techniques. And she now uses her first-hand experience and professional skills to help other childless women to own their own story, to heal everything that's holding them back, and to understand the meaning of what they've been through so they can fully embrace an adventurous and fulfilling life. And so without more ado, hello Lesley, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks so much for interviewing me.
Oh, it's, I'm just loving these interviews. I'm getting to spend time with some great women. So I just wanted to ask you first, just to fill in a bit about your backstory. So you started out in the civil service, in public service, like I did. You went into a charity. I did that too. Yeah. And then there you were in midlife, and sadly your mum had died, and you just weren't being able to create a child in your life. Can you just tell us where you went from there and what was going on?
Well, not having children gives you a bit more freedom and flexibility, and I was fortunate enough to not have to have a full-time job, so I just gave up my job. At that time, I didn't know why I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. It was very frustrating. I realise now that it was about my values, and that my values and their values were completely different, and that was what upsetting me. So I just gave it up. I had no idea what I wanted to do or who I was at that point. So I then trained in NLP and set up a business to support midlife women, because that seemed like the right thing to do. The next step from that was to work with childless women, but I needed a bit more help and support to do that. It was about getting some help to sort of give me that inner strength so that I could take that work out into the world.
Yeah, because this is an ongoing process. I mean, I find that in talking to all the women who gave me their stories, they're still on that path, of discovering more about themselves. And I think you're there too, aren't you? You've learned so much, even in the past few years.
Yes, I mean, I think that's. I think somebody said one of the good things about having your own business is it gives you an excuse to continue your own development, and I think that's great. Actually, I absolutely love that. I mean, I'm a great big fan of Brené Brown's work, and I've learned all sorts of her work, self-compassion, all sorts of different things that both help me to discover more about who I am and to give me more tools that I can teach to women that I work with.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it is about that whole thing of understanding and owning your story. Could you say a bit more about that and what you've learnt from Brené Brown on that?
Well, she talks about we spend a lot of time hiding from our story, and I've got the quote that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's in my story, that when you hide from, when you deny it, it has more power over you, but once you own it, then you can take control of it and write your own happy ending. And I think that's absolutely been perfectly true for me and for the women that I work with. I mean, talking about your childlessness can be hard, and it's not something that you can do without a bit of help, because you need to build that inner strength and the confidence, because people ask you all sorts of daft questions. So you need to be able to answer that before you can speak out. So there's a bit of work needed, but it's so powerful when you do it.
So what do you find is the sort of help that women in that situation need? What's been some common factors in it?
Well, a lot of women are lacking confidence, so it's building up that confidence. And I use the timeline therapy that I learned, as you'll be familiar with, to help put the grief and the sadness into perspective. I mean, there's grief work that obviously has to be done, but it's also it's really about building that inner strength and the confidence and self-esteem which is some sort of common work for all of us, isn't it, really?
Yeah, yeah. And so I know that you're still developing in this area. Where do you feel that your work is going now? What's happening with it?
Interesting question. I don't know. I think probably towards writing. I mean, one thing I do, a bit like the Hot Women Rock stories. I collect stories and publish stories of other women. So I think one of the next steps will be to look at those and work out what the commonalities were that, and then that how they all healed and got to where they are now.
Yeah, I think that'd be really powerful because, I even read it in your own story about feeling so alone at that time and not realising that other women have also had that experience and had those feelings, and how we can support each other.
Absolutely. I mean, that's we always think whatever it is that we're struggling with, we always think we're the only one, don't we? And it's not. It's never that. It's always part of the human condition that we never get what in life completely. We never get what we want, do we? And so for some of it's children, for others it's other things.
Yeah, yeah. So this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, talking to Lesley Pyne. And the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, in the book I set out the model of neurological levels and how if we use all of our brain when we're making change, we can make much more effective and long-lasting change. And one of the levels is environment, but I particularly talked about setting up a supportive environment rather than, come and join me in my kitchen or my office or wherever it is. That whole thing about who you surround yourself with. And of course, Lesley, I met you through being in the same Mastermind group.
Yeah.
And that for me has been amazingly supportive. I wonder if you could say something about, the people that you've surrounded yourself with and what's worked the best for you.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, I mean, when I set up my midlife coaching business, I just felt, again, so alone, and I knew that I couldn't do that on my own. So I started to work with a small business coach, and that was, and I'm still in contact with her now, and through a business group. But that was so important. That group, which is formed into a small business group, would be once a month, and very similar to the Mastermind group, but slightly more structured. And so, there's the business group and the Mastermind group. And I think I could say that if it wasn't for both of those groups, I'd have probably given up by now, because it is so hard on your own. And having some other people who, in that secret, safe space that you can be honest about, this is crap, this is great, and that they've got your back, they'll support you when things are down, and also cheer you on when things go well. I think that is just absolutely invaluable, and I know I'd have given up if I hadn't got those groups.
Yeah. So these people that we surround ourselves with are so important, and something that I think you don't realise when you're first starting out is the people who are around you in your old life are not necessarily going to be the people who are going to be there for you when you do the next thing.
Absolutely.
Because family and friends, they want to keep you safe. They don't actually want you to step out too far. So setting up doing something new, they're more likely to be trying to cocoon you from making the change. Whereas what you need are the people who say, oh yeah, I've done that, come on, let's do it, what are you going to do next, It's a pretty different band of people, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, I guess for me also, I've got a group of childless friends, women, both men and women, and some of those understand what I'm doing, some don't, and some will cheer me on, but on the others, they are supportive, but it's like they've moved on beyond that, and they don't want to. It's something they don't want to be reminded of now. So I guess I keep it in their consciousness when they might not necessarily want that to. But yes, it absolutely. I agree with you completely that a lot of people our family and friends, or we often move beyond, don't we?
Yeah, and there's a wonderful coach in America called Nido Qubein, and he says who you spend time with is who you become.
Absolutely.
And so if you spend time with people who are fearful and don't want you to take the next step, and that's who you're going to become, is the person who doesn't take the next step.
Absolutely. And I think once you start to do this work and you find also a group of passionate women doing their thing, then you notice more when people aren't, and when people are negative and want to stay still. So yeah, these things, you become more aware of what's missing, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And you talked a little bit about your values there. So tell me again what you feel are your top values.
Making a difference is one of my top ones, really, and that's what drove me to work for the charity, actually, and it turned out the wrong one, but there you go. And I guess that's my main thing that drives me, is making a difference. And yeah, that's why I do what I do, because I don't want women to struggle in the same length of time that I did.
Yeah. So making a difference. When we talk about values, our values motivate us. They're the things that keep us going. So I certainly find with my values, on those mornings when you wake up and you'd like to lay in bed a bit longer, it's understanding your values that keeps you going. Is that what you find too?
Absolutely, yes, it is. And it just gives you that reminder as to why you're doing this, and especially that I think that making a difference one for me. It's like, I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing one bit for me. I'm doing it for those women who can benefit from my help.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to a new midlife entrepreneur, either about the people they're connecting with, or understanding their values? What would you say to them?
I would say, Dave, follow the exercises in here, and also find yourself a group of supportive people. You don't have to do this alone, and you don't need to do it alone. You can learn so much from surrounding yourself, as we've been talking about, with people who are perhaps a bit further down the road as well, who can help you. Just find somebody else. You don't have to do it on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, because as you know, I dedicated the book to the Mastermind group because of that feeling of how we can support each other. And I do say a lot in the book about how you can set up a Mastermind group, or perhaps find one, because, that whole thing that you were just talking about being able to be open and to look for support and to gain support. And I think this whole thing of collaboration is so useful. And the fact that in our group, it's a real mixture of people. If you're looking to set up a mastermind group, don't think they've got to be doing similar things to you or different things to you. I think in a way, it's having common values that's the real thing.
I think you're right. Yes, I think that's is absolutely the key, and that willing to be open, both to give and to receive, and because we do share our skills as well, don't we? Our skills and knowledge. So it's that openness and sharing that is also key. Yeah,
it's that collaboration instead of competition. I mean, I go to all sorts of networking, and it never bothers me if there are other therapists in the room, because my belief is people find the therapist that suits them. I might have great response and great, results from the work that I do, but I don't suit everybody.
Absolutely.
And so the people who are drawn to me are the ones that I'll work with. And so it doesn't bother me if there's someone else, because if they're right for other people, that's the way they want to go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think you just have to look for that chance to collaborate, really, and to support each other.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for talking to me, Lesley. So anybody watching or any of the readers of the books would like to be in contact with you to find out if you're doing any talks. I think you're doing a talk this weekend, aren't you?
I am. I'm doing a talk tomorrow in Birmingham, yes, to a conference of childless women, yes.
Fantastic. So if they want to find out about if you're doing talks or if they want to work with you, how do they contact you, Lesley? My
website is lesleypyne.co.uk. That's lesleypyne.co.uk. And there's a download on there, free download, if you sign up to my newsletter. So
lovely. Okay, well, I hope your talk goes brilliantly. I'm sure it will, and that you'll be sharing all of this expertise that you've developed. And so thank you to everybody watching, and keep watching out for these interviews. You're going to learn a lot from all of these wonderful women. See you next time.
Okay, thank you.